Chapter 18. Several hours later, as the sun was setting, Jeramie cautiously opened the door to the house. He was met with silence and sighed relieved. As he made his way further into the home, he saw Aalliyah and Nate sitting outside on the patio. He slid the door open and went onto the wooden boards. "Welcome back," chimed Nate playfully. "Thanks," Jeramie began a bit awkwardly. He scratched his head and shuffled his feet. Without making eye contact, he continued, "I want to apologize for earlier and walking in on you both. I feel awful for interrupting such an intimate moment." "It's okay. You couldn't have known. Anyway, how are you both doing?" Aalliyah answered, "I am feeling a lot better, surprisingly. It took a lot to get to where I am, but I'm stronger than this morning." Nate replied, "Yeah. At first I was hesitant to make love to her because I didn't feel it in me. However, then as we started the first time and she lied there in tears, it began its magic. I felt its healing powers, and so did she as tears slowly ceased. After that, we were so wound up we couldn't resist playing around more." "You mean you did it more than once?" Nate laughed. "We sure did. You walked in on about our 4th round." "Damn!" Silence took over the conversation, and Jeramie joined them in the empty chair. After several minutes went by, Nate remarked, "I'm going to try to go to Cambridge again tomorrow." Lightly, he kissed Aalliyah's temple. "Do you think you'll be all right without me here?" "Yes," she responded. "Thanks to today, I'm feeling a lot better. I'm hoping this feeling lasts." Jeramie cut in, "You and I both know how grief comes in waves, Aalliyah. You will grieve for your child just like you did with your adopted parents. Some days will be easier and others harder. In the end, we get through it because we love with the love of our friends and family provide. You are very fortunate to have a strong support system between Nate, myself, Lisa, and James. You will overcome this and find your strength to resume your life, but take it one day at a time. May I come to the preserve tomorrow?" "I will not answer that question for you. You must decide that, but not now. Make your decision in the morning. If you do not, I will remain with you for part of the day, so you are not alone. Truly, the worst emotions rise when we are left alone, especially in time of grief. Let me know in the morning what you feel up to doing." The next morning, Aalliyah found she still had the energy in her she did from the previous night. Happily, she informed her roommate she would go with to the preserve. She knew getting back to her routines would help her feel her world is normal. Nate kissed her briskly on the cheek and hurried off to Cambridge minutes before Jeramie and Aalliyah would set out for the animal preserve. Nate arrived at Cambridge and found Lucy waiting for him in the library. "You didn't want to remain a day longer at home?" she sought. "No, I miss you. I want to be with the one I truly love," he replied. "What did you do all day?" "Slept with Aalliyah. It was so rejuvenating and brought the life back to her. And me. Of course it was nothing compared to the fire we create in bed together. But I think we were bound so close together because of our shared grief. Honestly, it was more intense than any time previously with her. Well, I'm glad it helped you make progress through this difficult time. If you do need to leave, though, don't hesitate to take that time for yourself. I love you and want to see you back to the way you were before this tragedy." "What do you mean? I am no different." "You can tell yourself that all you want, but I see the difference. You are quieter and a soft line of sadness surrounds your skin. I can tell you are better than you were 2 days prior, but still not perfect. It's okay to be feeling pain, but you need to acknowledge that you are. I know you like pretending to be tough, emotionless man, but that's not realistic. Be honest with yourself. I love you and how blunt you are, but as you know, it's hard for me to open up. I do not like feelings, any emotion beyond joy and love. Showing it and working through it is even more of a challenge. If I was good at it, I would have broken up with Aalliyah ages ago. We're getting closer to accomplishing that, though. Jeramie is extremely concerned for her, and his love for her rises through that. Actually, I'm feeling disconnected more from Aalliyah, and I sense the gap growing. Sure, yesterday we were close, but it was so empty, at least for me. In my pain, I have found I don't find solstice in her anymore. Don't get me wrong, it was pleasurable during our intimate moments yesterday, but I don't want to be close to her. I can create more distance between us, which will push Jeramie closer to her, and my initial plan will succeed." Lucy fell quiet for a moment as she processed his thoughts. Then she stated, I follow your logic, but I worry you may hurt Aalliyah worse than you would have initially if you pulled away further now. How so? She may see it as you blaming her for the loss of her child, and she will think it is her fault. It will torture her mentally. How can you be certain? You've never met her. I minored in psychology at my university in Germany, where we analyzed the reason why people responded in a certain way. One of our case studies was a story about a family that suffered a stillbirth, which then led to divorce. Studies have shown that couples that face miscarriages are almost 25% more likely to split, and stillbirths increase that to a 40%. Those numbers are terrifyingly high. Due to that, Aalliyah could blame the loss of your child and feel that it is her fault the relationship failed. If that occurs, she may not trust herself getting into another serious relationship ever again. Aalliyah will be fine. She's strong. You don't know that. You've never seen what immense pain can do to someone. She has Jeramie to catch her when she falls. Lucy sighed heavily, irritated that he wasn't understanding the weight his actions could potentially have. Nate locked his hand with hers and led her to the desk. They sat down and opened their notebooks to work on their research. Their first class of the day wasn't until the afternoon, so they always spent the mornings in the library advancing their research. That evening, Nate returned to his home. He saw how much lighter Aalliyah was, and that being back in nature and with the animals had helped her. How was Cambridge? She inquired. Fine, he replied flatly, trying to recreate the plan of distance. What's wrong? You seem on edge. Nothing. Aalliyah glanced at Jeramie to see if he was picking up on the same vibes she was. His eyes seemed to hint at a yes. Talk to me. Tell me what's going on inside your mind. What happened? I'm just tired, Aalliyah. It's been a long week for us both. That's fair, she responded, accepting his answer and dropping the topic. The following morning, Aalliyah was at the preserve, brushing Melody with a thick brush. Then her phone started ringing. Pausing, she pulled it out and saw it was her biological mother, Lisa, calling. For the first time in days, she smiled a true smile and slid the green button over to retrieve the call. Hi, Mom, she chimed gleefully. Hello, my darling. How are you doing? Doing the best I can. Oh, honey, has the morning sickness gotten to you? Lisa said sympathetically, while completely oblivious to what had happened a few days prior. No, I'm not sick. Well, I know it can be very stressful preparing for a baby, even this early. If there is anything I can get for you or do for you, please let me know. I am so excited to be a grandmother, she squealed. Mom, quivered Aalliyah with her voice beginning to crack. I lost my baby 3 days ago. Aalliyah fell to her knees in a pool of tears. Jeramie, being near, placed his hand on her shoulder blade and tenderly rubbed it. Oh my goodness, trembled Lisa. I had no idea. I am so sorry. Lisa continued, while trying to mask the sound of her tears. How are you doing, my dear? What can I do to help you? Yesterday I was okay, but today not so. How can I help you? Come? I'll be on the next plane. Until I get there, hold on to Nate and find comfort in his arms. He's at Cambridge, and I'm at the preserve with Jeramie. Well, find comfort with him if you can. I'll be right over. Thank you, Mom. Aalliyah hung up the phone and continued crying. Jeramie knelt down next to her and lightly rubbed her back. Do you want to go home for the day? She shook her head and responded, I need to be here with the distraction, otherwise I'll sit at home with nothing except this plaguing my mind. All right, well, keep me updated on what you need. She nodded but remained silent except for her tears. In the late afternoon, she and Jeramie returned to their home. Aalliyah was still feeling awful from earlier, and she had no energy to do anything. She flopped onto the lover seat couch and sprawled out, lying on her side across the entire thing. Would you like me to put a movie on? Implored Jeramie. Slightly, she nodded. What do you want me to put on? She shrugged. Knowing her well enough, he knew exactly what she'd be in the mood to watch. Jeramie sat down in the armchair to watch for a bit. Then he got up to begin making dinner. As he was cooking, Nate came in from Cambridge. He set his bag down and went into the bedroom to change into something more comfortable. When he opened the door, Aalliyah immediately sat upright on the couch to make room for him. He, of course, knew she wanted him to sit next to her, so purposefully he sat in the armchair. Quietly, Aalliyah sighed and continued watching the movie. Then she stood up and took a step in Nate's direction. Nate noticed and realized she was coming over to sit with him. Immediately he declared, "I'm going to get a drink." He sprang up and went into the kitchen. Disappointedly, Aalliyah went to the bathroom so it didn't seem like she had gotten up for no reason. She came back into the living room and resumed her place on the sofa. Nate entered carrying a cup of water and set it on the side table by the armchair. His girlfriend had the spot next to her, but he ignored her and went to the armchair. Jeramie finished dinner and his two roommates went into the kitchen. Aalliyah nibbled on the food, not in the mood to eat. Then she returned to the couch, lying sprawled out. Nate resumed his place on the armchair and Jeramie pulled up a folding chair. A few minutes later, a knock came from the door. Jeramie stood up to get it. Opening the door, he smiled, seeing Lisa and James. He tilted his head, welcoming them in. "My poor Aalliyah," cried Lisa, seeing all the color absent from her daughter's face. She rushed over to her and knelt on the floor and squeezed Aalliyah's hand tight. Feeling the comfort in her mother's arms, fresh tears fell down Aalliyah's face. "I'm so sorry, my darling." Softly she said, "This is the worst pain I've ever felt, possibly even worse than when my adoptive parents were killed. Why did this have to happen?" "I don't know. I really wish it hadn't, and everything was as it had been. You were so excited for this baby, as were we. Please don't let this bad experience keep you from having kids in the future, though, if you choose to have children." "It won't." Even softer than she was already speaking, Aalliyah murmured, "I went to the doctor to make sure it was still possible, and I wasn't barren. I wanted to know the cause of this loss, but they said there is no way to pinpoint it." "Why did you whisper that so quietly?" "I didn't tell Nate about going to the doctors, and I don't want him to know because it'd make him worry too much." "You went all alone?" She shook her head. Jeramie came with. "Well, I'm glad. That appointment would be difficult to face alone." Lisa looked over her shoulder and smiled at Nate. Then in her normal speaking voice inquired, "Why are you sitting over there instead of on the couch with Aalliyah?" Nate fibbed, "I'm tired from Cambridge." "You and her are both hurting, though. You should be comforting each other." "Cuddling doesn't help me. I'm better at healing when I distance myself from the pain and don't acknowledge it. Holding her, I can feel the pain pulsing in her blood, and that tears me up from the inside out." "Okay, but what about her? You are a pillar of strength that she relies on to lean upon in difficult times. This is the worst thing that has ever happened to her. You need to be here for her." "Lisa," cut in Aalliyah, "it's okay. He's still processing the news, too. He and I don't handle situations the same way. It would hurt him more having to face it head on, which would result if he spent lengthy time with me. You two have always been close, even before you were dating. He was always holding your hand, always right by your side, and always showering you in kisses. If that's not what he needs for strength, that is understandable, but I worry about you. You've always relied on that comfort. I don't want him distancing himself, impacting your relationship." "It won't. We've been together for years. We'll be fine once we work through our feelings and find our normal selves again. I know the reason we suffer is the same, but the way we heal is different. I never will truly understand the pain you are feeling. But when you are taken from me, I was a mess. I cried as if you had died. I screamed in anger. I scoured the land day and night for any sign of you, and the one that stole you. James was silent. He was hurting too. Day and night he searched with me. Through it all, he held me close and repeatedly tried to tell me we would find you, even though he was skeptical of his own words. I never would have made it through without him. He cradled me constantly, not because it was also healing him, but because he hated seeing me in pain, and knew that is what I needed. I rely on his strength and support, as if he was a crutch and I was a broken leg. There is no way I would have been able to live my life again without him. Mom, it's fine. Some days are harder than others, and today is one of those extra difficult days. If you had seen me yesterday, you may not have thought anything was wrong. I was at the preserve and full of energy. I just don't have it in me today. I miss my baby," she whimpered as more tears fell. Lisa rubbed her shoulder and lightly kissed her forehead. Several long minutes went by, when Aalliyah finally sat up and let her mother join her on the couch. Lisa curled her arms around Aalliyah and held her tight. "How long are you staying?" Aalliyah sought. "As long as you need me to," her mother answered. "Thank you for dropping everything to come. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it." "Of course, my darling." Jeramie came into the living room from the kitchen and set a warm cup of tea down next to the couch. Then he informed, "I'm headed to bed for the night. Aalliyah, drink this. It will help relax you and help your mind be at ease for the night so you can sleep through the night. Thank you, Lisa remarked to him. As sweet and caring as you are, how are you not married? I don't go out of my way to meet people. I have my duties at the preserve, and I prioritize that over finding a life companion. If fate wants me to have someone, it will be, but only when time tells. Everything happens for a particular reason, every smile and every tear. Anyway, good night. Good night, Jeramie, responded Aalliyah. Nate then said, drink your tea, and then we should start to wind down for the night. I know we are night owls, but I can tell it's been far too long of a day for you, and we could use a start over. Aalliyah nodded, feeling worn down from crying so much and the lingering sadness. Lisa chimed in while quickly glancing at James. We should be going to avoid holding you up. I'll come see you tomorrow. Have a good night, honey. You too. Soon Aalliyah felt the magic of the herbal tea working, and her entire body relaxed. Nate was lying propped up against his elbow in bed as he watched Aalliyah finish brushing her long red hair. Then she lifted the covers and crawled in. Before lying down, she turned the lamp off. She rolled closer to her boyfriend and expected him to wrap his arms around her. However, he didn't. Aalliyah placed her arm over his chest. Usually then he'd encase her. Instead, though, he brushed her arm off. Are you okay? She said softly. I'm fine, he assured. She sat up and kissed his cheek. I love you. Good night. Good night. Aalliyah sighed quietly. Surely he was acting this way because he was tired or missing their child or both. She told herself tomorrow would be a new day and he could hold her tight once more. However, the next day Nate avoided sitting in the same place as Aalliyah. He left the room frequently and remained out longer than he normally would. At night, he didn't wrap his arms around her, nor did he tell her he loved her or wish her good night. Trembling, she sat up and kissed his cheek. I love you, she whispered through jagged breaths. She lied down and Nate heard her uneasy breathing. She was crying. Nate shifted a bit and cupped her cheek in his hand and ran his thumb across her tears. I'm sorry, Aalliyah, he mumbled. The following night, Nate was quiet again. Aalliyah climbed in bed, but didn't turn the lamp off. Instead, she propped herself on her elbow and gazed at her boyfriend. Can we fool around tonight for a bit before going to sleep, she thought. We've already terrified Jeramie for life. I don't think he needs more nightmares, lightly responded Nate. I didn't mean all out, just our little nightly games. It was so lovely that day you had remained home from Cambridge. Your love is healing. I'm not in the mood tonight. Okay, good night, my love. She kissed his cheek and then turned the lamp off. Nate rolled onto his side, turning his back towards her. Aalliyah placed her hand on his shoulder and slowly rubbed it as she spoke. I know you are in pain and trying to hide it. It helps if you talk about it. I understand your pain. We are both grieving. You can be open with me. You want the truth? He demanded bitterly. Yes? I'm glad you lost the baby. Trembling, Aalliyah coiled her arms around her belly and tried to withhold her tears. How could you say that? I told you from the start of this pregnancy it was the worst possible timing with me at Cambridge. I didn't want this. It was an unexpected problem. Sure, the moment you lost the child was awful, and it crushed me, but I'm over it. Honestly, your miscarriage is the best thing that could have happened. Aalliyah restrained her tears no more. No, she whimpered, trying to find her strength to defend the pain she was feeling. Yes, it is. If you knew the future, you would understand. When it comes to pass, you will see I was right, and this is for the best. How could you possibly know the future? I don't, but I do know something you don't, and that's why I say what I do. Tell me what you know. Now is not the time. Jeramie is always going on about how everything happens for a reason. Well, he's right. There's a specific reason you had to lose this child. Stop it. It was our child. Don't call it this child as if it were so distant from it and you didn't care. I know you are busy with Cambridge, but we would have made it work. Our baby would have been the best part of our lives. Trust me, it would not have. This baby would have created far more problems for the two of us than you can comprehend in this moment. Enough of this. It's getting late. We need to go to bed. You asked how I feel, and I answered your question. Someday you'll look back and realize I was right, and you too will be grateful that you miscarried. No, I never will. I'm going to sleep on the couch. Aalliyah grabbed her blanket and pillow and left the room. It was mid-morning when Aalliyah finally stirred. Jeramie was sitting in the armchair reading and heard her groan as she rubbed her eyes and sat up. He glanced over the edge of the book and stated, "Good morning, Sunbeam." "Good morning," she mumbled. Then her eyes fell on the clock. "It's 11 o'clock. Yeah, I could tell you had a rough night, so I didn't want to wake you." "How could you tell?" "First of all, you slept on the couch, and you never do that. Secondly, there are tears stained to your cheek. Do you want to talk about it?" "Nate, he's a feathering douche some days. Some days he is the most lovable man, and I'm so grateful he is mine. Then there are times like last night that make me wish I had never met him." "What did he do?" Aalliyah's sharp tongue slipped away, and her voice quivered as she informed. "He said me losing our baby was the best thing to ever happen." "Good Lord! He meant it, too!" "I don't understand why he sees it that way, and why he doesn't feel the pain I do." Aalliyah shook as tears drenched her cheek. Jeramie rose from the chair and sat beside her, pulling her into his arms. "It really hurt me having him say that." "Yeah, I'm sure. Right now I don't even want to be near him." "That is valid." When Nate came back from Cambridge, Aalliyah avoided his eyes and didn't ask how his day was. The three were sitting at the dinner table, but Aalliyah was barely touching her food. Gently, Nate placed his hand on top of hers, making her look up. Softly he said, "I see how badly my words last night hurt you. I will not revoke them because I meant it. I'm sorry, though. I should have said it lighter because I am very aware you are grieving. I was not gentle with you last night, and I'm sorry. I know you do not know my perspective or where I'm coming from, but I promise you soon, when the time is right, I will show you why." Aalliyah didn't respond but nodded slightly. She hated being mad at him, so she let it go and resumed her place beside him in bed that night. However, Nate once again didn't hold her or tell her he loved her. He did say good night, though.